Good morning, everyone. On Sunday mornings, I have been talking on this text, Opening the Hand of Soul. This book was written by my teacher around the time when I was ordained, that is 1970. So since then, my practice has been based on this book. So I'd like to share, what that teaching I received from my teacher and how I have been practicing, and that is what I have been making effort to transmit in this Sangha. Today, I like to talk page 102, if we have this book. The bottom of page 102. I talk about two paragraphs. So let me read these two paragraphs. Being detached by our thoughts from reality, we fabricate seemingly substantial and accumulable entities, such as money, position, or power, right in the middle of this insubstantial world. This is the view of existence. In order to possess these things, we become greedy and deceitful, hating and injuring each other, or else we hold onto a feeling of inferiority that develop into neurosis in the course of our struggle. Delusion is this very view of myself as an independent substantial entity. Next paragraph. Even though this world of interdependence is not substantial, provisionally it has a certain order. Yet we ignore that order, taking up the view of non-existence, and pursue selfish desires, throwing all our energy into killing one another and destroying the things around us, living for the moment, and in the end, short-circuiting our lives. This is a part of the section entitled Delusion and Zazen. He said, our practice is to live based on the reality of our life. But somehow we cannot see the reality because we human beings have ability to think. And this thinking can create something which is not really there. That means some kind of fantasy or fiction. And we think this fiction created in our mind is more real than reality. And we kind of, made a story. And almost always we are the hero or heroine in that story. That makes our view about me and other people around me, and also all other things in this world, into a kind of what is the word? Samsara. That means our life is based on delusion. And we struggle how I can be the center of the world, more powerful than others, or more better than others. And we struggle within ourselves. How can we become such a person? And also we need to compete with other people. How can we be better than others or more stronger than others? or more wealthy than others. And, so our life become like a made up story. And our zazen allow us to be awakened from that kind of a dream created in our mind and calm down. But to understand this, how can I say, process that we are living this life, but somehow we create fiction or fantasy, and we put our entire beings into this fantasy, and we think this fantasy is reality. That is a problem, basic problem. So our Zazen practice is let go of that fantasy and sit right now, right here, on the basis or ground of reality. That is what he's talking in this section titled Delusion and Zazen. So we need to understand what is this process of creating fantasy, or our life become fantasy. And last time, that is March 1st, 2 weeks ago, I introduced Bodhidharma's saying. Bodhidharma is the first ancestor in Chinese Zen. And basically what he said is, we paint our mind consciousness, paint tiger, dragon, and monsters, and our mind becomes frightened when we see those monsters. But we don't know that those monsters are created by our thinking. And that is what he's saying in these two paragraphs is a continuation. Even though our life is a collection of all different elements, and because all those elements are changing, we are also changing. So there's no such fixed person like Shōhaku. But somehow in our conventional world, I have to, make an image of Shōhaku. And that image of Shōhaku must be identical, don't change. I have to behave as if I am the same person. Really. And conventionally, I am a Buddhist priest or a teacher, so I have to make effort to give the impression to other people that I'm always a Buddhist priest, and not only good priest, only a Buddhist priest, but a good priest. Otherwise, people don't trust me. So I have to kind of make effort to create the self-image, self-identity, and try to be in accordance with that image. That's how we live in this world, in the human society. But I think that is how we live actually. But the problem is, we easily think that is me. That conventional image among human beings is real me. So I am really a Buddhist or good Buddhist priest. But it's not true. I'm a Buddhist priest only when I put on this robe and sit in the Zendo or give a talk about Buddhism or Zen teaching. When I go to a supermarket, I'm a shopper. And when I'm with my family, I'm a father or a husband. If I behave like a Buddhist priest, they hate me. So to be a Buddhist priest is a tiny part of myself. And yet, when I write a resume, I have to write I'm a Buddhist priest since 13 years, and I was a disciple of a certain teacher. So that is a kind of a fantasy or a conventional idea or information about this person is. But actual, this actual person or actual 5 skandhas, body and mind of this person, is not limited with that kind of image we have to keep to live as a member of the human society. But the problem is when we make such a kind of a definition who I am, we think this definition is more real than this reality of 5 skandhas. Buddha taught we have a collection of 5 skandhas. Those are, form, sensation, perception, formation, and consciousness. And these 5 skandhas meet with object of the 5 skandhas. And when we meet those 6 sense organs meet the object of 6 sense organs. And eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And the form, color, smell, taste, touch, and object of the mind. These are called 6 sense organs and the object of 6 sense organs. And when eye and color or shape encounter, we have sensation, some kind of sensation. And based on those sensations, we create perception. Perception is already in our mind, creation of in our mind, of our minds. It's not really the same with fact is there. We already made some changes. Within our perception, something we like looks much larger than they are, or something we hate also looks much larger than they are, or something we are not interested in looks much smaller, or even we don't see them. That is how our perception is. And based on the perception, we create images. That process is called formation. We form the image using our thinking. This is the process we create or we paint based on the perception is already little different from real things outside of us. We don't really see things outside of us. What we see is our perception. And this perception is a kind of a product of encountering of what we are inside of ourselves and what is happening outside of ourselves. But what we see is perception. It's not really seeing this itself. This is how, Bodhidharma, what Bodhidharma said, our mind paint the image of those things outside. We don't really see the things outside themselves directly. And that form perception or image formed in the process of formation. We make definition what this is, and whether it is favorable to me or not, or beneficial to me or not, or profitable for me or not. Then we create the system of value. Important, less important, or no value. Or I like, I hate, or I don't care. That kind of vision or picture of the world is created in the process of formation. And once this certain image about certain things is fixed, we are controlled by that image created in our mind. And next time we meet the same thing or similar thing, we evaluate this thing based on what is created in our mind. And we interpret what this is and evaluate and make judgment. That is how our mind works and how we actually live. So even though when we read Bodhidharma's things, we create, we paint the tiger or dragon or other monsters, and we become frightened. Our mind itself becomes frightened. This sounds like very deluded, only very deluded people doing such a stupid thing. But actually, this is how all of us, all human beings, who has a brain that has the ability to think something which is not in front of our eyes, do. So this is not especially deluded people, but all of us live in this way. And about the perception, not perception, but image created, perception and the image and definition or concept we made in the process of formation. There are degree of how distant from the real reality. This is what is taught in Yogacara teaching. One of the examples used in Yogacara teaching is in the darkness, when we see something like a poisonous snake. So we are frightened and escaped. But next morning when I returned the place, I found a piece of rope. So we see poisonous snake. But when we see in the daytime, this is simply a piece of rope. So nothing to be frightened. So to see this thing as a poisonous snake is delusion. Or in another Buddhist term, this is a disordered perception. And based on disordered perception, we create something, and we react something. In that case, just escape. But when we see in a normal condition, we can see this is not a poisonous snake, but this is simply a piece of rope. We think this perception or thinking or concept is ordinary. It's not delusion. But in the Yogacara teaching, this is still not reality. In Yogacara, it says to see these things as a rope is still not reality, because this rope is a collection of fabric or thread, such as hemp. So according to Yogacara, to see this thing as a rope is still production of our mind. This piece of rope is simply a collection of hemp or thread. To see this is to see emptiness of the rope. But we can see rope as a poisonous snake. So there are kind of a degree how far from the reality. And in Yogacara only these three are discussed, but we know much in detail. This hemp is a collection of what we call mercury. Mercury. And mercury is a collection of atom. And atom consists of something, I don't know the English word. And actually, atom is not real thing. This is also a collection of something. So, we know much more than Yogacara philosophers. And this way of viewing, this way of being is called emptiness. Actually there's nothing, but somehow depending upon how our mind works, we create all these names and concepts. And in our human society, we think this to see this thing as a rope is ordinary. That means it's not mistaken. But that is only in the convention of human beings. But even about the rope, when we see, all human beings commonly agree this is a piece of rope, and we don't think we are deluded. But even when we see this piece just as a rope, still there are many different variety of view. When we think of value or like and dislike, or all those kind of human value judgment. For some people this rope might be very important, and for other people this is useless. Or not only rope, but for example, a canvas for painting. If on this canvas, if some famous painters painted their paintings, then this can be a national treasure. But if I paint something on the same canvas, this is just a junk. No value. So there are, even we think these are rope or simply a canvas as a material. In our world or realm of value judgment, there are many different, varieties. And because of these different opinions or views or judgment, we may start to argue. My view is right, yours are wrong. Or, all that kind of things happening, even though all of us agree this is simply a piece of rope or simply a canvas made of some fabric. That is where we live. So we need to understand what we see using 6 sense organs and create within our 5 skandhas are not real things. not only about other things outside of ourselves, but things happening inside of ourselves, or our basic self-image, who we are, who I am. Because we create self-image in, how can I say, in comparing with others. That means, when I was about 30 years old, I found that very basic desire I had since I was a child was my desire to be a good boy. I remember, I think when I was 4 years old, my mother took me to the barber, and when the barber, cut my hair, it seems I could sit still without much movement. So the barber, praised me that I'm a good boy. I think that was the first time I think, I'm a good boy. And after that, I think I have to be a good boy. And to be a good boy is a really difficult thing. Because before doing something, I have to understand what other people expect from me. And I try to do what people expect. But that is how that was how I behaved until I became teenager. But when I became teenager, I hate to be a good boy. So I try to do things people don't expect me. And especially when I was a teenager, I'm a high school student, I thought what my parents, teachers, and entire Japanese society expect me to study hard and go to a good university and get a good job and make a lot of money. And I didn't want to live in that way. So when I was a teenager, I tried to become a bad boy. That is why, I wanted to drop out from that money marking machine. That's why I started to study and practice Zen, and I really escaped from that, that world. To me, looks like a huge money-making machine, and school was a factory to produce the part of that machine. I couldn't find any meanings to live in that part of that machine, so I escaped. So I thought, I became a bad boy, and I became, a Buddhist practitioner and disciple of my teacher. And I was happy that I thought I could escape and I could become a bad boy. But after 10 years after I became a monk, that is around when I became 30. At that time, in my 20s, I could practice as much as I wanted because I was young, healthy, strong, and foolish. I just want to do this. I don't care about anything else. But after I became 30, my body became half broken. So I couldn't practice as I did in my 20s. And I started to think, I'm really good for nothing. I thought Zazen is good for nothing. I understood. But if that is true, I had a question why this is a problem. I couldn't practice good for nothing thing. But I was in trouble, and I felt not Zazen, but I am good for nothing. This is really a big question to me. And at that time, I went back to Japan, live in my brother's apartment, not in a temple. So I had no place to practice, and no sangha, and no money, no job, and my body was half broken. That was a condition. Anyway, at that time I found that even after I became a Buddhist monk, I thought I became a bad boy. But still my desire to be a good boy working. I wanted to be a good Buddhist monk. I wanted to be a good disciple of my teacher. Therefore, I wanted to study Buddhism more than others. And I wanted to practice Zazen more than others. So this desire to be a good boy means to be better than others. To create such a self-image, I have to think, those people are not so good. If there are no such people who are not so good, then I cannot say I'm a good boy. In order to make it sure that I'm a good boy, I have to create or consider other people as not good boy or bad boy. That is what is happening actually in our mind. So that was very helpful to me. That that my basic desire is to be a good boy, and I think I really clearly saw that. Then I could be free from my desire to be a good boy. This being free from my desire to be good boy does not mean I become bad boy. I don't need to be good boy, but I don't need to think other people bad boys. To be free from this desire of good boy means to be free from this discrimination between good and bad. So I don't care whether I'm good or bad. But before that, I want to be a good boy. That means I want to be in accordance with my image or my definition of what good boy is. To do so, I have to think some other people are bad. I'm not same with those people, I'm good. That is how our mind works. And that creates, my life, that makes my life suffering. Because I cannot always be to maintain my image as a good boy. And sometimes I feel those are good people. So sometimes I disparage those people, and other people I disparage myself. That is how we often live. But when we see that very basic, in my understanding, very basic desire, that I want to be good, I want to be valuable, I'm okay. That is I think the basic problem for us. And to be free from that kind of idea and competition and comparison is being released from samsara. Because that desire makes our life into samsara. We always chase after something to be better than others, or better than I think who I am. And not always we can think I'm good enough or I'm better than others. Then I feel like I'm a hungry ghost. I want to get something to become better. Or I hate others, like a fighting spirit or asura. But we basically, what we need to understand is those are simply a world created in our mind. So when we let go, we can let go. and we can be free from that kind of fictitious world. Of course, as a human beings, we have to live within this fictitious world. That means conventional society, in which, for example, when the traffic signal is red, yellow, or green, we have to follow the rules. That is convention. We agree that we follow those, even though those are not absolutely correct. That works only within human conventional world, but still, because we are living, we kind of make commitment to live a part of or a member of human, conventional world. We have to follow certain rules, like traffic rules. But if we think that those traffic rules are absolute, then it's difficult to live also. For example, the speed limit on the highway. If I strictly follow the speed limit, then it can be dangerous. So it's conventionally we accept the rules, but we also need to understand this is not always and absolutely true or right or correct. This is fictitious, so we need to see the middle way between everything we think personally or conventionally within human society is conventionally there and it works, but it's not absolutely and always right or correct. Right? This is not really reality itself. This is kind of a certain degree fictitious. But if we negate that conventional world, then we create another problem. So we have to see the middle way. Basically, I think that is what Okumura Roshi is saying here in these two paragraphs. So let me read again these paragraphs. Being detached by our thought from reality, so we create something fictitious. We fabricate seemingly substantial and accumulable entities, such as money, position, or power. Those are something desirable in human conventional world. But if we think those are really there, as we think, then that is a delusion. Because our world or our life is insubstantial, nothing is fixed. So, and he continues, this is a view of existence. View of existence in Japanese is uken. And opposition is mu. Ken is to see or view. And so to see everything exists as we think is view of existence or uken. And to see nothing exists. Everything is because of insubstantiality. Nothing really exists. And clinging to that view is called muken. Or another word can be kuken, means emptiness, view of emptiness. If emptiness becomes our view, then this is one-sided. Emptiness cannot be our view. So Nagarjuna said, if we cling to emptiness, this emptiness, the teaching of emptiness is, Nagarjuna said, is a medicine to allow us free from uken. But if cling to this emptiness, Nagarjuna said there's no medicine to heal the sickness caused by Mukuken, view of emptiness. So if emptiness becomes our view, then that causes another problem. That means nothing is problem. Nothing is important. I can do whatever I want. That kind of nihilistic view is called Muken, or view of non-existence, or Kuken, view of emptiness. Both are extreme view according to Buddha. So what our practices are called Chu, means middle. We have to see the middle way between these two extremes. And important point is there's no such a third view that is between middle, center between Wu and Mu. But Chu, or middle, means to see the reality being free from both views. Depending upon our tendency, we have either Wuken, view of existence. That means, all those things are there, actually there, really there, as we think. That is Wuken. And Muken is all our thoughts are not important because it's not really real reality. These are two extremes. And to see middle means to be free from both sides. And there's no certain fixed view called middle. That means we actually see from two sides, and without clinging to either side. That is the way we see the middle. So we have to see both ways, without clinging to either way. That is how we see the middle. And so in this paragraph here, Chamro says the problem about Wuken, and we think all those fixed things like wealth, power, and so on. Then we think something positive or desirable or important, and other things are not. And we want to possess good things, or we want to be a good boy. So in order to possess these things, these positive things or valuable things, we become greedy and deceitful, hating and injuring each other. Our life becomes a competition. We compete with ourselves. That means I don't like who I am, so I want to be a better person. And I start to fight against myself to make me better than who I am. That is one way of competition. And another way is we compete with other people. Because, almost always the good or valuable or desirable things are the same thing. All of us chase after that thing. So if in order to possess that thing, we have to compete with others. And if even we feel, I have this, because this thing we think valuable is also valuable for others, probably other people want to take these things out of me. So we always have fear or uncertainty. That is how our life becomes, suffering. Whether we don't have or whether we have, both, our life becomes something we have to always worry and fight and protect. or else we hold on to feelings of inferiority, and when we fail to gain something we want, we have inferiority complex, or we have a superiority complex, and both are not so healthy, and develop into neurosis. We become, we may have, mental problem in the course of our struggle within ourselves and with other people. So delusion is the very view of myself as an independent substantial entity. So this way of life, as Bodhidharma said, we paint the things and we become frightened, or we become sometimes, instead of frightened, but we have we really love the painting I painted. But both are not reality. And next paragraph. Even though this world of interdependence is not substantial, provisionally it has a certain order within the human world. There are certain conventions, certain things, or certain rules or principles we agree to follow, even though that is not absolute reality. But as a member of that human society, we have to make commitment and make effort to maintain it. Yet we ignore that order, taking up the view of non-existence, or nothing is real. And we don't care about the rules, or how other people think about ourselves, or how we think about other people. Those are not reality itself, but that is how we live within the human world. So we have to respect and value, how other people think about us, or how we think about other people, and how can we be compassionate and friendly and being in harmony. And yet, when we cling to this side, then we think nothing is important. We can do whatever we want. Then pursue selfish desires, throwing all our energy into killing one another and destroying the things around us, even destroy ourselves. Living for the moment, and in the end, for the moment means I don't care about the future. So I do whatever I want to do right now. And in the end, short-circuiting our lives. Short-circuiting our lives means we may kill our life. So these are two sides when we fail to see the reality beyond these thinking. So our practice of Zazen, sitting and letting go of thought, means depending upon our character or personality, we have tendency this side or that side. But whichever side we tend to go, when we sit and letting go, means become free from either way of thinking, because these are fictions. And see, not see, we don't see anything, we just let go. So our Zazen is not a method to see this middle, but when we let go of these two extremes, then the middle, the reality is right there. So the reality cannot be the perception of our five skandhas, but the reality is revealed by letting go of these product of our mind. And when we sit and letting go of our thought, that means we take a vow not to do anything based on the idea this way or that way coming and going in our mind. So in our zazen and letting go, we don't create new karma. Just sitting there. And all those thoughts, either uken or muken, coming and going, let them come and let them go. That's all we do in our zazen. That is a way we become free from two extremes. But when we stand up from zazen, in our zazen, it seems like we put the gear into neutral. So even though our brain is still working, we don't make karma. Same as when I put the gear into neutral, the engine is still moving, but the car doesn't move. So the car doesn't make karma. But when we stand up from the Zen and get out of Zendo, we have to the gear into some place, otherwise we cannot go. But when we drive the car or drive our life, we try to, how can I say, be free from either extreme ideas. Of course, we have to, in order to make choice, sometimes we put emphasis on the human conventional rules, and sometimes we kind of become free from that convention. But how can I say, we have to operate all those, devices to live in a most healthy, peaceful, compassionate way. I think that is our practice in the Zendo and outside of the Zendo. Well, this is what I have to say this morning. Any questions or comments? No? Please?
According to neuroscience, there's a part of our brain that is specifically attuned to threat. Threat, like danger. And so when the eye sees the sin object, that part of the brain snaps on snake and makes us jump back.
So, but sometimes it can be a rope.
Yes.
Instead of poisonous snake.
Right.
So it can, that is not always correct.
Exactly. But according to the way according to evolution, you can make that mistake 100,000 times and you would still live.
Yeah.
But if you made the other mistake, thinking, oh, it's not a problem, it's just a rope and you step on it, it's a snake, it bites you and you die,
right,
then your genes don't get passed on.
Yeah. So that is a part of our life, to avoid danger.
It's a part of the brain mechanism. And what I'm thinking, what we're learning here is that it's possible to perceive reality, noticing that up jumps the threat and the retract, or be defensive or be aggressive, and we have another option, another choice.
Yeah, sometimes this is not really rope, but this is really poisonous snake.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anything? Okay.
Well, could I have one? And it has to do with perception, information, and sensation. For example, an optical illusion. I look at something, that I see the light, I see the lines, I would call that sensation. Where does the delusion come in? At the place of perception or formation?
I think formation. But usually we think perception is a kind of a material we watch and make evaluation. But in the stage of perception, we or our life already makes some kind of a selection. So this perception is not 100% objective.
Is sensation?
I'm not sure. Possibly some people are more sensitive about the color or sound than other people. So maybe what I hear might, what I hear as noisy might not noisy to other people. So, depending upon how our, physical body function or our sense organ function, something like painters are much more sensitive than about the color. And musicians are much more sensitive about the sound. So even sensation might be different among people.
When we look at that object on the ground that's like this, if we call it a rope, is the label rope happening already at perception? Or does the label rope happen through formation?
I think once this idea of rope or conception or concept of rope is fixed, when we see the same thing, without thinking, we think that is rope.
Wait, that is
but before this is fixed within our mind, we have to think whether this is rope or not, and what rope is. But once this idea or concept is established, then without thinking, when we see the same thing or similar thing, we think that is a rope.
So is that a perception or formation?
I think it's a result of formation, how this process working. So some thing is almost like perception. Without thinking, we can make judgment and take action.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.